From the Western Mass News studios in Springfield, this is Western Mass News Getting Answers with Dave Mattson.
Thanks for joining me for this week's edition of Western Mass News Getting Answers. Every week I'm joined by political and business leaders and other newsmakers to talk about the issues that impact you. This week I'm joined by Chicopee Mayor John Vieau. He ran unopposed to win a second term in November. He first took office in January 2020 after serving 10 years on the city council, 4 of them as president. And barely 2 months after he was sworn in as mayor, the coronavirus pandemic hit. Time permitting, we're going to focus on the current state of the coronavirus in Chicopee, his plans for his second term, and city infrastructure improvements, as well as plans and hopes for Chicopee's downtown. Good to see you. Happy New Year.
Well, thank you, Dave, and thank you to Western Mass News for having me today. This is great.
Congratulations on a second term.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Dave.
You know, we talked before we started taping about the plans that you had really for when you first took office 2 years ago. Then the pandemic hit and your focus turns to that. What's the COVID-19 situation in Chicopee right now?
Well, Dave, COVID-19 has really impacted the way people live in the city of Chicopee. And I'm going to go back to March of 2020 when we found out. We immediately created a COVID task force. The task force met every day. And we really took guidance from the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, from the governor, and from just about any other source that we could. And the goal was to protect the residents of the city of Chicopee, was to keep our older adults safe. And really, that's what we were focused on. And I can tell you right now that we are a very resilient city. And we have hit a point where I think we're going to coexist with COVID-19. And I can tell you that it feels like the Omicron variant has really started to, peak and now is coming downward here in the city of Chicopee. By the time this airs, which would I believe be this Sunday, we're going to have about 500 open active cases in the city. Our testing site has slowed down tremendously, and I attribute the residents and the business owners and everyone else for taking it very serious. And I guess the message will be, and has always been, please get vaccinated, get your booster shots. It really has reduced the severity of the COVID-19 virus, and those who do it, science has proven it, and please get vaccinated, really is the message that I have for people today.
And it sounds like the approach you're taking is the approach that leaders in other communities around Western Mass are taking, that this is something that's going to be here and we're going to have to learn how to live with it.
Oh, I agree, Dave. And I think that's the message too, is we're going to coexist with COVID-19. We want to keep our kids in schools. We want to keep our businesses open. And you can tell that people want to do that, and we're going to coexist. We're going to do it in a safe way. And again, the message to people was we really wanted to keep our older adults safe. And the death toll was a number that really resonated with me as mayor. I didn't want Chicopee to be a big part of that death toll. To our knowledge, we have about 32 people who, God rest their souls, have lost their lives to COVID-19. And the death toll, I believe, in Massachusetts has surpassed over 120,000. And you look at the nation, I believe, is somewhere around 870,000. I didn't want Chicopee to be a big part of that. So we're really happy of the way the people had reacted to some of the mandates that were in place, and the recommendations, and really telling people that the best thing to do is to social distance, wash your hands, and to stay home if you don't feel well, and get tested. The test sites are open, they're available, and really keep our community safe.
And it's something we're going to be doing, I think, for as long as I'm around, too. Let's talk about, you've had a mask mandate in place in city buildings. Mm-hmm. Are you looking at any possibility of expanding that? It sounds like with the numbers going down, you may not have to anyways.
So the numbers are trending in the downward direction, and the city of Chicopee, just like Governor Baker, had passed that responsibility down to the mayors and really didn't implement a mask mandate throughout the entire Commonwealth. We feel that we're leading by example. I encourage people to wear masks, especially if you're uncomfortable, but I'm not going to take that approach. And our task force is all in agreement that forcing people to wear masks isn't really what we want to do. But if you're uncomfortable, to wear one. And I've noticed just being out in restaurants and being out in the grocery store that a lot of people do wear them. I do. We were talking about breakthrough cases with COVID-19, but now many people who have the vaccine are contracting the virus, and ideally we want to keep people safe. So we encourage people to wear masks, but I'm not going to force people with a mandate right now, especially because we're heading in the right direction. We've peaked with the Omicron variant, like I said earlier.
How's the distribution of test kits going in the city? I know the president of the Chicopee Education Association voiced some concern to Western Mass about it earlier this month.
Yeah, sure thing. So the city of Chicopee received 15,000 antigen self-test kits that we handed out before the holidays, and they were really helpful. But the goal was to give them to the less fortunate people in Chicopee, the people who had the wherewithal to buy their own. We encouraged them to do so. But when it comes to schools, I commend the superintendent and the school district. What we did is right as the holidays were coming to an end and the students were coming back after holiday break, we made self-test kits available. I think it was through DESE and also through the state, but I believe 500 of our teachers took advantage of those self-test kits. And now we're testing, right now starting this Friday, we'll be testing any teacher who wants to take home a self-test kit can use it on Sunday night or early Monday morning before coming into work. So our goal is to keep people safe and really provide that safe educational environment for all. And the staff who have taken advantage of it are doing it, and we want to keep people safe. And we're also doing it for students starting the following week. So students who have signed up will be able to take a self-test kit home on Friday, use it on Sunday night or early Monday morning, and hopefully that'll eliminate some of those cases in the schools.
It sounds like, more than anything else with this, it's establishing trust. And okay, we're doing everything we can for you, number one. And number two, just they have to be relaxed when they go into work, whether it's a teacher or somebody working for the city or working for Callaway or anywhere else.
I agree, Dave, and that's the reason why we implemented a mask mandate in the building. We have a lot of people who are coming in from the outside and who are conducting business, and it's not just the city of Chicopee's City Hall, it's also the library and the Council on Aging. They're open, and the staff need to have that comfort level. So we have people coming in and out of the buildings, and we implemented a mask mandate because there was some people who felt uncomfortable with the general public and having that exposure. So the mandate is there to protect our employees. And I encourage any business owner, and there are businesses in the city that do have mask mandate, but we want to keep people feeling safe. We've actually created a position at City Hall. It's a checkpoint. So you have to have some business in the city to come in. So our doors are open. We just have a checkpoint, a person there to ask you what your business is. And we really don't want people meandering through the hallways and just walking around aimlessly. So the goal is to have official business in City Hall. Come on in. The senior center, again, is open. The mask mandate is in place because we want people to feel comfortable.
Sure. And it's for their safety as well as the safety of the people who work for the city.
Yes.
So it goes two ways with everything. Let's talk about the American Rescue Plan Act funds and what the plan is for the remaining money you have there.
Sure. The city of Chicopee has been very fortunate. We're receiving close to $38 million. So I immediately put a committee together, and the committee consists of our financial team. We have city councilors and also business leaders in the community who are all working to try to figure out how we can take this one-time money and make it a long-term impact on the taxpayers, the ratepayers, and the residents of the city. So our goal was to also encourage people. We did a public survey. We wanted the public opinion on what they felt was the best use of these funds. So right now we're evaluating a lot of those, and there were certain buckets, I'll say, that you could use the money for. And one is broadband, one is infrastructure, the other was essential worker pay. We found that some of the things that we need immediately, for example, were some pumps at the wastewater treatment plant. So we decided that we're going to use those funds. We wouldn't have to use general funds or our money out of the water surplus accounts. Sure. So we're using those funds for that. We're buying turnout gear, and we're still processing things. And I can tell you, I think that the approach that we've taken has allowed us to be, first and foremost, the infrastructure bill is now a law.
Yeah.
So we didn't spend our money on infrastructure when I could. I can tell you there's many sewer separation projects. The wastewater treatment plant needs a lot of work. So we've decided to proceed with caution with this money, again, because we want long-term impact. We didn't want to just use it, and we've been very gradual about how we're doing that. And I think we're taking the right approach. Like I said, the infrastructure bill is now a law, so we're expecting to get the city's fair share of infrastructure money as well. And originally they were telling us to use the money for infrastructure projects, and I could spend all of the money on one project. The wastewater treatment plant needs some serious upgrades. It was built in the 50s.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
And when we come back, the mayor and I are going to talk about his priorities for his second term. Welcome back to Western Mass News Getting Answers. My guest this week is Chicopee Mayor John Vieau. Let's talk about, well, you're in your second term. And the first 2 years of your term, you've really been focused on COVID. But as you look ahead now, and we touched on some of these in the first segment, your priorities for the city.
Sure. Public safety is a big one, Dave. I want people to feel safe in the city of Chicopee, and it's really probably the most important, I'll say, two departments that we have are police and fire. So I want to make sure they have the tools they need to keep us safe. We had a lot of people retire, and like many other communities, struggled with rehiring because academies were closed, and we're working towards getting back. It's no secret that we're not at full capacity, and we want to get there. Full complement is our goal. Public safety is definitely one of the most important things, I think, to make Chicopee successful, is to make people feel safe. But we have some plans about economic development. We're really focused on our downtown, community policing. There's so many different things going on. Phase 2 of City Hall, infrastructure improvements, expanding our broadband. There's so many things going on in the city all at once that it's just an incredible time, and we want to keep that progress moving forward. So making sure that we're providing services, and those services, and trying to keep our taxes as low as possible. Sure. And also focused on affordable housing. We want to make Chicopee affordable for the people who live there.
I know in your inaugural address you talked about the infrastructure improvements. We talked about the wastewater treatment plant. What other areas are you looking at to make improvements?
So, we're always trying to keep up on top of our roads. It's New England, and the roads take a beating, but it's the infrastructure underneath. So we're continually doing sewer separation projects, and, we're under a decree with the EPA to do those projects. And we've actually done over $220 million over the past, I think, 15 years, and we're under about a 20-year consent decree. And those, it was very aggressive, that separation project. And there's many of those projects right now. So you have sewer pipes and water lines that are in disrepair. So we're looking at those. The wastewater treatment plant, like I said earlier, it was built in the 50s. It needs major upgrades. And, they're, I'll say, taking the affluent discharge levels and creating new mandates for those, but they're unfunded. So you have to, the levels that can be released into the river are much more, the levels are a lot less concentrate. For example, nitrogen and phosphorus being discharged in the river. That has to be addressed at the plant. We're talking, estimates of $50 million just for one project, like updating the wastewater treatment plant. So there's many infrastructure projects that we could do. We're talking about potentially doing the sewers in the Chicopee Center area. Again, estimates of roughly $50 million. So money goes really quick when you're talking about doing infrastructure projects, and our focus is to get our fair share of that infrastructure bill, which is now a law.
Now, when you talk, especially when you talk about sewer and water and everything else, I mean, I think people don't realize that, Chicopee's been around for a while, that some of the pipes that you're looking at are going to replace and everything else are very, very old. It's not an easy thing to do. And when you were talking about the mandate from the government as far as the separation is concerned, probably a lot of people don't realize that there wasn't a lot of money for that to do that. You're on your own pretty much.
Right, those were unfunded mandates. Yeah. They now give you money for design work, which is, really helps. And also some of the loans are at 0%, which also helps as well. Next week, I'm taking a tour of our water treatment plant. I want to make sure that we have safe, our potable water is safe for people to drink and to use. And that's a very important component and something that people take for granted. And every time you rip a road open, it's typically separating the sewer system. We have a single system. You'll separate stormwater from the sewer water, and also replacing the water lines and gas lines. You want to make sure you do the whole infrastructure under the road. So our goal is to make sure that we provide safe drinking water to everyone. We've recently put in a redundant water line to make sure that water's always available. I was approached for the first time. We had to shut the water off for about 10 minutes to change one of the parts on a valve or something, and it had never happened before. We were
really.
So it happened at midnight, and I don't think anyone noticed, but we made sure the public was notified.
That's always good, sure. You've talked about economic development. I know you have a technology company that moved into Chicopee, a $33 million investment. What they see for Chicopee, and I'm sure you're hoping that there are other companies that see what they see.
Oh, we're excited about having them, Dave. And, that in itself, bringing those living wage jobs is what we're also trying to do. And, we want to promote the city. We're the crossroads of New England. We have great rates. We're very competitive when it comes to potential new development. We have our Chicopee Business Park. We do have some land that actually is vacant that you could build your building, and really that allows you to build it to what your needs are. So to have Agilent come to the city of Chicopee, commit to a long-term TIF agreement is what we offered them, and allow them to expand, up to $33 million. And most of that is going to be new growth. So we're excited about that. It really offsets tax increases when you have this new growth coming into the city. And like I said, creating those jobs. We want good paying jobs in the city, living wage jobs that people can afford to, do the things they need to do, and maybe have one instead of 2 or 3 jobs, because that's not really what it's all about.
Right. And Callaway's rock solid, of course, making the best golf ball in the world.
They really are.
I mean, they've settled. There was some worry that they may move, but Chicopee is their home.
Yes, it's my understanding they're running 3 shifts. We helped them through COVID-19. They put together a plan immediately. It's surreal when you close Callaway Golf.
Yeah.
And they were closed, and they put their plan together. Again, they have a tremendous team, and they worked with our health department. And the day they were allowed to open, their plan was approved because they had prepared and they were ready. So, it is important to the people of Chicopee and those who work there from Western Mass that we continue to make golf balls, and it's wonderful that they run 3 shifts and they're expanding.
What's the latest on the Uniroyal property and the search for new owners?
It's a great question, Dave. It's been 15 years now, roughly, and that property, I think, it came to the city by tax title. It was estimated to be somewhere around a negative $22 million project, and now we've reached a point where most of the buildings have been removed that are going to be removed. I believe we're down to the last building. I think actually every building that's going to be taken down is gone. And the contamination has reached a level where the property can go out to RFP with some activity and use limitations, and we're hoping in April. So this spring, April, May, we'll be going out to RFP, looking for creative, innovative, and potential uses that are really going to be in the best interest of the city of Chicopee, and get that property back on the tax rolls for the first time in many, many years.
Yeah,
so we're excited about that.
Prime piece of property, as is the FaceMate property too. What's the latest on that?
So FaceMate actually went out to RFP last year, and the preferred developer was granted. They're looking at putting multi-purpose and indoor soccer. They're talking about a 10,000 square foot brewery, and also affordable apartments up to 100 units, I believe, on that site. So we're excited for that project to break ground. Right now it's in site plan review at the planning board, and we're hopeful to move that project along. You talk about the FaceMate site, and that's where our senior center is now. We have this beautiful state-of-the-art senior center for our seniors, and that's available now. It's open, even with like I had said, with COVID restrictions, you have to wear a mask. And there's also a beautiful assisted living a development there as well for those people who are ready to move into assisted living. There's really a state-of-the-art, beautiful place right next door to the senior center. Like I said, when they built the place, there's nothing better than having a very modern, accessible recreational facility right across the driveway with an assisted living and a senior center next door. So really, they complement each other very well.
All right. We have to take another break. And when we come back, we're going to have the latest in Chicopee on the search for a new Chicopee police chief. So stay with us. Welcome back to Western Mass News, Getting Answers. I'm pleased to be joined this week by Chicopee Mayor John Vieau. Let's talk about the status on the search for a new police chief.
Sure. Great question, Dave. So the city of Chicopee, it's known to everyone that our police chief retired, and our deputy chief also retired as well. So we had 4 captains, and right now Captain Jeffrey Garin, he's the acting provisional chief, and he's doing a great job. But we had 4 captains that were involved in this process. We used an assessment center. The assessment center, we officially got the results in December, and what had happened is one of the candidates had withdrawn right away at orientation for the assessment. And we had another one who's also withdrawn from the process as well. So we're down to 2. So to proceed now, we're putting things on pause. We're reevaluating the actual process and to see if it's in the best interest of the city to move forward with just 2 candidates. So we might considering possibly reopening, but I think we have 2 good candidates, and I'm sure we're going to make a decision very soon. We want to move forward with the police department. Sure. Like I said, public safety is paramount for me. the most important department is definitely the police department, and also keeping people safe with the fire department.
John, now you opened that police substation on Center Street. Let's talk about how that's working out. Of course, that's a key element to downtown, and plans to open up any other substations.
It's been a huge success, Dave. The people who live in the downtown area, the business owners, the stakeholders, love have community policing. They love the concept, and I'm a strong proponent for it as well. So we want to expand that. Like I said earlier, it's no secret, the city of Chicopee, we're short-staffed. We had a lot of hires in the 80s that have retired, sure. And it's really been hard to get them through academy because academies were closed during COVID. So our goal is to focus on hiring. So right now I have 8 in the academy. I have 15 more hired, 15 more that we're going to send to the academy. So we're excited about getting those guys trained and gals, and really a diverse group of wonderful people that are definitely going to complement our police department. But we want to focus on community policing and, again, really expand that throughout the entire city. Our next focus is Willimantic. But right now, again, we're running on short staff. They're tired, and we can't wait to get more officers hired. We just have to get them trained. And
it's a tough thing, too, given, you look at the entire nation, and police community relations have not been good all across the country. That right. You're finding that there are people who are reluctant to get into law enforcement, understandably so.
We've been fortunate to have a couple of transfers from other departments, so we welcome them with open arms, and we're excited about the future of the PD. We've renovated the complex. I don't know if you knew that, a few years back with a $10 million renovation. We provide them the tools they need to keep themselves safe and also to keep our community safe. And those who are interested in serving and doing police work, Chicopee's a great place to work. And it has that success ladder, and that's really something that I like to promote in the city, is those potentials. You come in entry level, and we had 2 cases, with the police and fire chief, retired fire chief, and the retired police chief and the current fire chief.
Right.
They both came in entry-level positions, and now they're chief. So there's that ladder of success, and I think that's something that motivates people to stay.
Yeah. And your firefighters have a new 4-year contract?
They do. So the firefighters have a new 4-year contract. Actually, the police do as well. So we were actually negotiating simultaneously, and I'll commend the unions, because what they did is their contracts expired right as COVID was hitting the city of Chicopee, and they did not even come forward at all. They waited until we were going through a time of uncertainty. We didn't know what was going to happen financially to the city of Chicopee for just revenue loss.
Right.
So they waited patiently. We gave them a 1 year. Most departments through that year of COVID had a 2% increase. They got that as a retro. And we reevaluated their contract and came up with, I think, is something very fair. They seem very happy. I believe it was a unanimous ratification, and I don't think that's happened in a very long time. And I can tell you that the police one is on the agenda for approval right now. So the police received a very similar contract, and our goal was to be very fair and also take into consideration the ability to pay. So I think the contracts, again, are fair, and most people are very happy. I'm talking about the police and fire personnel, and they seem happy with their contract. And we want to be able to retain talent too. We don't want to lose our, we train them and then send them off to another community where they end up serving. So our goal is to retain talent and make sure we pay them appropriately and take in consideration pay parity with Western Mass.
You like what you're doing?
I do. I love my job.
It's and I know your hope is okay. Let's we're going to have to deal with COVID. It's always going to be here, but we look ahead to a lot of good things happening in Chicopee. I want to thank you for being here today, for sure. We'll have you back again. I think it's always good to have our community leaders come in and give people an update and just let them know what's going on. So
no, I appreciate it, Dave. I mean, I think we need another hour because I certainly have many more things to talk about. I didn't even get to talk about the downtown and the Brandon logo that's coming. The Central Library is going to be open, an incubator for new business. So we're excited about that and actually getting the doors open, getting people downtown. So there's so many wonderful things happening. I hope to come and join you again very soon.
We will do that. Good to see you. My thanks to you, and my thanks to you for watching. If you can, join us again next week for Western Mass News Getting Answers.